I've been to Varanasi Ghat, Banaras Ghat. I have seen these renunciate yogis standing on a shelf and playing with their penis. Or that day I promised I'll keep a fast, I did not keep a fast, God is angry. I promised I'll go to the temple, I did not go, God is angry. It's not practicality.
Independent of gender, if you identify strongly with anything.
Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Masiha sacrificed himself on the cross or wherever to repent for your sins, and he was the only son of God. What nonsense is that?
This is the second podcast that we're doing, which is completely different from our topic that we usually do. As you know, I am usually very obsessed with the idea of AI and how it shapes our future, and that's what I literally think about 24/7. But what most of you guys don't know is that there are years when I was obsessed with something else. And that something else was the idea that I realized how ignorant I am. I realized that I actually know nothing about the world. I know nothing about my own self, my emotions, my thoughts. And it unsettled me quite a lot. I said, if I'm in this world, I have one life, then I must do something really remarkable with it. And that journey cannot happen until I, really become sincere and curious about how the world is outside me and how the world is inside me. Now, how I ended up with these questions is a long story. Maybe another story for maybe another podcast, or maybe when I do an AMA, where more than happy to answer that. But I'll just leave you with a small cue. And this story starts at my first day of IIT Bombay, when I had gone there as a student. Our classes hadn't started, and I had gone to the mess just to have my breakfast on day one. And I saw that they served eggs in the mess. Now, I come from a vegetarian family, and when I saw that they're offering these eggs, a thought occurred in my mind that if these eggs are being served, should I eat them or not? But then the idea of should I eat them or not is dependent on whether I think it's right to eat the eggs or wrong to eat the eggs. So I said, fair enough. I have been taught from my childhood that eating eggs is wrong. So then the next question occurred to me, like at least half of the mess was eating an egg, okay? And I remember they were serving boiled eggs. So everyone was peeling off the skin, the calcium skin, and they were all, enjoying it as if it was nothing. They were very nonchalant about it. But I was thinking that if eating eggs is wrong, then half of these people are all evil. They're all bad people. But then I said, if just by eating eggs someone becomes bad, this doesn't sound right. So I was damn confused. You can imagine the kind of confusion that a 17-year-old has just because they stepped out of home and it's day one outside, right? That question, that moment became a trigger which cascaded into a million questions after this. I went into God knows how many rabbit holes on the internet trying to find out whether egg is good or not, whether it's right or wrong, whether people who eat it are good or bad. Then what the hell is good or bad? Who decides what good or bad is, right? Someone said, someone pointed at philosophers from the West. Someone said, let's look at Bhagavad Gita. Someone said, listen to your heart. Someone said, use your own brain. I'm like, wait, something is not adding up. So you can imagine the kind of rabbit hole I must have gone into, right? And it actually took me more than a decade to come out of this zone where all I could think about 24/7 was, I don't know anything about the world. I don't know anything about myself. What can I do to know more? And that led me to a lot of subjects like philosophy, psychology, game theory, humanities, and a lot of weird places on the internet, random articles and books which related quantum physics with spirituality, that everything inside you is a mirror of everything in the universe, the law of attraction, the movement of stars and suns, how they decide everything that you feel or do in the moment. There were so many ideas that were thrown at me that I was genuinely very puzzled. And I think after many years, when I got exposed to a bit more nuanced into the world of spirituality, and we'll come to that in a minute of what spirituality even means. But when I got exposed to that, I think things started settling a bit, I was exposed to Vipassana as a practice, meditation where I was observing my breath first, then scanning my body, but then trying to observe my thoughts and my feelings and emotions and sensations. These practices kind of helped me get a richer perspective and clearer understanding of things. And I would say that it led to some growth beyond an intellectual curiosity growth also. Now, in this journey, I've always sought someone who can be a guide and who can probably answer a lot of these weird questions that I have. Some of those questions, if I were to ask you right now, you would think of me as completely, utterly stupid and bonkers. So there is a certain hesitance to asking these questions to anyone around you. In this pursuit of seeking a guide, I obviously, like most of us do, I went to YouTube. And on YouTube I found a bunch of different kinds of figures, leaders, spiritual figures. And whether it be, I remember watching a lot of Art of Living and Shri Ravi Shankar for a while. Then I also attended their course. Then Sadhguru, then Eckhart Tolle. And I've also followed Jordan Peterson quite a lot. So very different kinds of people, different kinds of ideas. Many of those actually have merit. Some I was confused. Someone was drinking mercury and saying that this is good for you. Someone took a snake poison as venom and danced on stage. So these things then again confuse me of what I'm looking at. Now in this process, I happened to come across another kind of a person who is a spiritual mentor and guide for many people, including me now. And I'm glad that I get to have this second conversation with him. He's right here sitting with me. His name is Nakul Agrawal. And what we did in the last podcast, I'm going to put that link in, at the bottom so that you can hear out his story. Please do hear out his story. It's been a very interesting conversation for me to know about what led to him pursuing this path. He's experienced what he calls awakening, and how does life change and how does his inner world change. I had many questions that I had asked him. So there are some more questions that I'm going to ask him today. And if you're curious to know more about him, the previous conversation we have, somewhere on the screen, you'll find out where you can click it. And the link will be right here. Please go watch it and then come back to this conversation. And I will promise you that we will have, very questions that all of us have. And I recommend strongly that you look at it as a skeptic. We're all seeking, but can you look at it as a skeptic also? Saying that, okay, why should I believe anything? Let's keep asking these questions. Let's be curious. That's what I'm going to do today. That's my role that I'm going to play. And I hope you're going to enjoy this as much as I do. So, thank you so much, Nakul, for being here in Jaipur again. You've took out the time, you spent a day extra so that we can make this happen. And I have a lot of questions that I have in mind, which I'm going to ask you very soon. So, but welcome here, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you, Nivedan. Always a pleasure to have a conversation with you and the followers of your channel and LLA in general. So excited for the conversation as always.
Wonderful. So I want to start off with some very basic ideas first, and we're going to build on from there. I keep hearing these words starting with spirituality. What does spirituality mean? I want to know some of, when you use these words, what do you mean by that? It's spirituality. What does it mean to have consciousness? And what does energy mean to you? I want to start with these three terms, and then maybe I'll ask you a few more.
Okay, so very good questions. Well, spirituality definitely means different things to different people, and often a lot of people confuse their daily practices, rituals, their religion, their books, their set of beliefs and faith also as spirituality. But spirituality, according to me, is none of these things. Spirituality is simply the spirit of knowing the reality. The reality of what? The reality of who you are, where you came from, what is life, what is your purpose of life, where will you go after you die. So such existential questions which have nothing to do with the stories that are there in any of the religious books, but everything to do with your own experience of life and knowing yourself. This is what spirituality is all about. And so, if you feel, or if anybody feels that just reading a mantra or a story of a god or the answers that he or she had about life is about being spiritual, then it is not.
Wow. So I'm sure, because this question, like even using the word spirituality, as we know, if someone thinks that they're reading a mantra, or just because someone has meditated for 10 minutes or even for longer, that in itself is not ever classified as spirituality. The spirit of knowing the reality is what spirituality is, and this spirit can express in many different formats.
Yes.
So which other definitions have you heard about spirituality, which you interact with thousands and thousands of people all regularly? What are some funky definitions of spirituality that you've heard, which you would like to clear if someone here listening believes in that as the definition here?
So some people believe that spirituality is about visiting some temples or places of pilgrimages. It is not. Some believe it is about doing some havans or rituals or celebrating some festivals or keeping a fast on some day. It is not. Some believe it is about wearing some rings and stones and tying some threads or wearing a lockets. It is not. Some believe it's about remembering your God, keeping his wallpaper, believing he is listening to you, imagining in your dreams that God is coming and talking to you. That is not. Some feel spirituality is about just connecting with the divine in a way you close your eyes and say, God, do this, God, do that, why are you doing this to me, why that? And thinking that whatever answers pop in the mind is spirituality because the God is talking to you. That too is not. So spirituality is nothing to do with having any sort of beliefs, whether in people, in things, in rituals, in stories, in ideas, in dreams, in hallucinations, imaginations, in the past, nothing.
Yeah.
It's simply about seeking to know who am I. Beyond the perceived idea of you being this person with a particular name, gender, nationality, caste, community, religion, beliefs, education, all those things. Beyond all of it, who are you really? Where did you come from? Where would you go? What are you doing in this astonishingly vast universe? What's the point of being alive and having this life? What are you truly wanting in life? What are the best choices to thus make in life? What is truly right? Is seeking wealth, running behind getting more money, a Louis Vuitton or a Bulgari or a Rado or a Ferrari, BMW, is that the right thing to chase? Or having more number of followers, the vanity matrix, comments, is that the right thing to chase? Having a higher position, this minister, this and that, is that the right thing to chase? What is worth giving more importance?
So spirituality doesn't necessarily say that all of the things that you're chasing are wrong or bad. It's saying know what you're chasing and why.
Exactly.
That spirit you must have. After that, does it stop you from chasing anything?
Not at all.
Like, can I be spiritual and still chase?
100%.
Okay.
Because it's about having clarity. Experiential, logical and experiential, both clarity. Just reading books is not spirituality. Just listening to discourses by someone is not spirituality, and doing senseless rituals or book readings is definitely not spirituality. The spirit of wanting to know, seeking to know through experience, through even debates and discussions, that is about you being spiritual. Of not believing anything, challenging all your beliefs that you've grown up with, that your parents are carrying, that the environment around you is having. Challenging all of it is spirituality.
Now, you said it's a spirit of knowing reality. If I want to know about this lamp, does it come under spirituality or does it come under science then? And are science and spirituality two very distinct things? Because usually science deals with things outside us.
Yes. So this is exactly the same analogy I give to people, that spirituality is the same as science. The only difference is science is about trying to know the reality of things outside you, which is basically more tangible.
Like outside yourself, because science can study things inside you and your body.
Exactly.
We're talking about you is not the
Yes.
body here.
Not the body, not the body. Outside you meaning the world outside your mind,
Yeah.
right? Science is about discovering that which is tangible. Spirituality is about trying to discover that which is intangible,
Yeah.
which you cannot even perceive through your five senses.
So something has to be beyond perception for it to be considered in the realm of spirituality then?
It depends again what you call as perception, because you might say my thoughts I'm able to perceive, right? But thoughts not perceived through the five senses, not through eyes, ears, touch, taste, smell, none of it.
Yeah.
But you are able to perceive, recognize, know, become aware of you are having thoughts. So that would still fall into the category of perception perhaps, but not five sensory perception.
So when I hear this, what comes to my mind is, isn't that what psychologists deal with? How is this different from psychology and maybe similar fields that are there?
Spirituality is a much extended part of psychology.
Okay.
Psychology is about knowing, okay, what is going on in my mind and why. And usually they are seeking of answers in the past. Oh, you are having this childhood trauma. This happened with you. That happened with you. You're having this disorder or that mania. Spirituality goes much beyond it. It says, okay, you have these issues in your mind, but where did the mind come from? Are you just the mind? Or are you someone or something beyond the mind? So psychology constrains itself to the mind. Spirituality even questions whether you, the real you, is what the mind is telling you, or is it something which is much beyond it? Because when you were born, you had a brain, so to say, but you did not really have a mind the way you're having it right now. Because ideally what you call as mind is a bundle of memories, which has its own identification, likes, dislikes, right, wrongs, good, bad, favorable, unfavorable, all these ideas. It's a hard disk filled with ideas. And also
now that we're an AI channel, I would say it's a neural network which has been trained on all your experiences and languages and thoughts and emotions and everything.
Exactly. That is what the mind is. But spirituality says, okay, but what was there when your mind was not formed? When you were formed in your mother's womb, or you were forming in your mother's womb, brain was not the first thing to get formed in its totality. Still there was something which was forming, taking shape, coming together, creating this body, all these things. So were you, that which is you, already there when the brain and thus the mind was yet to get active? If yes, then what is that? Also, do you exist when the mind does not exist? After death, for sure. In coma, for sure. Right? In deep states of sleep.
So there is something that exists when everything else ceases to exist.
Yes.
That something is in a way a seeking that we're trying to understand that. We're trying to uncover the layers from all of these ideas and things around us. It's our material possessions, our bodily possessions, and then our association with the mind. Then you say there is something beyond that.
Yes.
And that goes to the core of spirituality.
Exactly.
By the spirituality and the process of seeking, you want to go there to know it.
Exactly. I mean, you can also say that spirituality starts with the word spirit. And spirit is what we also call as soul. There are two spirits, of course.
Yeah. So let me come to my next word, that exactly, where we've arrived. So I want to know then the next thing is, what does consciousness mean here and how is it different from spirit or soul?
So these words have become very corrupt, honestly, nowadays. Hence
because people in philosophy and people in neuroscience, and then obviously people in spirituality, they can never seem to agree on the idea of self, on the idea of consciousness, on even the idea of life. So how do you see it, and why do you see this conflict coming? Why can't people agree? Why is this so hard to grasp? Like, because I think we all, when we talk about this, we all kind of have a certain sense of what we mean. But if you were to pick someone from their collar and say, define this consciousness, I think nobody will be able to define it really well. And even if we were to define it, I'm sure we can challenge it very quickly and say, are you sure? So how would you say that, how do you see consciousness? And why is this consciousness different from how other fields, when they talk about it, different?
Because the way people approach the word consciousness is different. Neurologists or medical science people are trying to look at consciousness by scanning your brain through fMRI machines and all those things. And they want to see, okay, what is happening in the mind or in the brain?
Yeah,
so
the electrical activity, the blood
Yes,
flow and whatnot.
Yes. So if you are awake, your eyes are open, they would say you're conscious. If you're sleeping, they would say you're maybe unconscious. And whatever actions you take without thinking, just like in a spur of a moment, you would say that's coming through your subconscious. Okay. So they have basically tried to divide the mind at 3 levels. This is the conscious state of mind, subconscious state of mind, and
Correct.
unconscious state of mind. When the mind is very active, it's conscious.
Correct.
When that part of mind which is active but not in your awareness is subconscious.
Yeah.
And when the mind is inactive, you're unconscious. If you ask philosophers, I don't think they talk about consciousness at all. But even if they do,
and some people do talk about it. It comes under the subject of philosophy quite often.
Philosophers are those who are not using medical terms, but trying to speculate. They are as good as poets.
Yeah, they're trying to use reason to grasp the idea of consciousness.
Yes.
They're trying to use reason for it,
Yes,
at least.
yes.
The attempt is that.
Absolutely. So they're trying to use reason to define something which is very intangible. Hence I say they are like poets who are trying to describe feelings through metaphors, right? Like you might say, you are as beautiful as a rose. Now definitely a rose looks different than the person, but they cannot describe the feeling, so they use the word rose, the metaphor of a rose. So philosophers are trying to use their mind to describe something which they believe exists for sure, but they cannot define it. And they're trying to intellectually come up with a definition of it. Mystics or spiritual seekers are those who are not just trying to logically arrive at that, but also experientially dive deeper into that. And then based on their experience, they're trying to translate that realization or experience into words through logic and thus talk about that. So a scientist might never talk about the soul because you can never see a soul in any of the machines, up till now at least. And I'm pretty sure it would be difficult to spot in the future times as well, knowing what it really is. A philosopher might say, what soul? There is no soul. I have only one soul, that's in my leg. Or probably 2 of them, right? 2 legs, 2 feet. They would say, I don't agree there can be a soul beneath the body because they're only operating from the mind. A spiritual seeker who's diving really deep within would say, yeah, but if I do not have a soul, then am I done the moment I die? Is everything over? If yes, then where did I come from? And when I was born in the world, I was born with some liking, some disliking, some characteristic traits, some habits, some things. Where did those come from? And why is whatever is happening in my life, why is that happening? Why am I born in this house, to this person, at this time, this place? And why not earlier, later, as a different species? So spiritual seeker is actually questioning every damn thing. And hence he says or she says that there has to be something about me which is much beyond the mind, which is much beyond the brain. Continue, Guru. So he says that there has to be something which is much beyond the brain because it's in the body and much beyond the mind because am I only limited to the mind? What is I has to be more than the mind. Otherwise, how did the body get formed? And how did all those things happen?
Now, as a biologist, someone who is into biology, when I hear I've read basic biology and evolutionary biology, and let's say how a child forms in the womb, a very surface level idea of that. But someone can argue that are we trying to assign the idea of spirituality at a place which is a biological process? Why do we need to ask? One question that I will also ask is, why do we need to ask about these things which are reasonably well explained in biological sense? Of there are certain chemicals and hormones and cells which are interacting, stem cells which are taking shape of 700 kinds of different specialized cells. That's how usually scientists describe something. Let's say the child development from day 0 to 9 months, and then after that, what is the scope of spirituality here? To understand, like, what is the scope and role of spirituality? To understand, let's say, this particular instance of a child coming to birth. Because they'll say, okay, there's a sperm and an egg that met, and then there's chromosomes that happened, and then they trigger off a chain reaction, and the child starts developing. And if the mother doesn't eat well or doesn't have the right habits, then the child's development suffers. We understand the cause and effect of things reasonably well.
Yeah.
Reasonably well. I am not a big fan of the progress of medical science yet. I'm very optimistic, but I think we can do far better. But what is the role of spirituality in this, which seems to be like a biological process? Why make it a questioning of the self? I don't understand that personally.
Because every human being fundamentally does not want to agree or accept that I can just be the result of some chemical reactions happening. If that is the case, then forget all morals and values and ethics in the society. If all I am is just some chemical reactions happening, leading to the birth of this mind and body, and one fine day which will stop happening perhaps, leading to the death of it, then why the hell are you binding me with this morals, values, ethics, codes of conduct, all these things? I got one life, let me enjoy, break every rule, fuck everyone around, buy everything in the world, eat everything, and what does it matter if I die early or I die late, if I drink or if I smoke? Suddenly, life loses meaning. Because then you feel, okay, I am the same as a robot. A robot has a body assembled by someone, right? And then a robot is just functioning out of the electricity being put into it through whatever means. Yeah, and whatever programming is there. So if I am as good as a robot that nature put together a body, there was some programming which happened from wherever through my upbringing, and now one day the battery will run out and I'll die. If that is all that is there to my life, then why do I need to do all this circus of family and wife and kids and wealth and security, my parents, this and that? It's all nonsense. Let me enjoy life. That would be the natural thought. And then with it also comes a thought that, okay, in this great giant universe, am I just an accident? Am I just a coincidence? No, there has to be some more reason why I'm here. There has to be some meaning behind my life. How can I just be an accident? Is what makes a person think.
So you're talking about the restlessness which a spiritual seeker would have. Are you also suggesting that, so we started with spirituality being the spirit of knowing or seeking the reality.
Yeah.
Right? There's a certain urge, there's a certain desire or need to now know what the reality is. But seeking meaning and seeking reality could be two very different pursuits. Why is seeking meaning a part of spirituality? Reality, we get it, that's how we define it. But why meaning?
Because your idea of meaning comes through some assumptions usually. For someone, having a good wife, a good job, 2 children is equal to meaning of a good life. For someone else, having huge properties, traveling the world and being a solo person, buying everything one can afford, could be what is giving meaning to his life. For someone else, like a Mahatma Gandhi, sacrificing yourself, your comfort, whatever, for the betterment of others,
Could be.
is equal to meaning of life.
Fair enough.
Every person wants meaning in life. They might admit, they might not. And the fact remains that every person has a meaning in their life.
And meaning and purpose are the same here.
Yeah. Over here,
They're the same.
They're the same. Everybody has a sense of meaning and purpose in life. They might be unaware of it.
Yes.
And in 99.99999999% cases, that meaning which they have given to their life is an assumed meaning which they have picked up by observing the lives of people around them
Correct.
and hearing them talk about what is giving meaning to their life.
Yes.
A spiritual seeker, like I said, is someone who starts questioning, who does not believe, who does not assume, who questions whatever he or she has believed, assumed, known till date. And the world is also believing and assuming, right? So one asks that, why is this meaningful? Why should one really marry, have children? What's the point if you're going to die one day? Oh no, my legacy. What the hell to do with legacy? If I'm going to die, why do I care if there is my legacy or not? So when you start questioning all these things, you find how stupid they are. Who will take forward our lineage, our legacy? I want to have wealth for my 7 generations to sit and eat comfortably. I want to be the most powerful person, change the world. How does it matter? How does it matter? So because there are such questions, now they want to know what truly is life, what is really life all about. Because so far, whatever I was thinking life is about, just a few questions later, it seems meaningless. It seems stupid.
Yeah.
You've been worshipping a particular god, going to a temple, believing he exists or she exists. And if you really question, you realize that no, it's just a belief. There are billions of people on the planet and they all believe that their model of God, which could be formless or of a certain form or some element of nature, who was there in the past as a prophet, messenger, masiha, or might come in the future, is somewhere there in the sky, is like a fire, like water, like whatever. They all equally believe their model of God is the only one. And it works. He listens to them, he cares for them, he fulfills their wishes. But if you question, you will think, how can all these 8 billion people be right at the same time, having different belief systems? It's stupid. It does not make sense. And you feel, shit, what have I been doing all my life? Am I really worshipping the right God, or is there even God? Right? Similarly, is it really important to earn money? If yes, how much? Is there really something called love? What is love? What is true love? Does love really exist? Does it sustain? What's the point of marrying someone? When you see most marriages, people are only fighting, nagging each other, and become thirsty of each other's blood perhaps. Wanting to part ways but cannot. It becomes a control mechanism. So when you start questioning, you realize that everything which you thought was giving meaning to life is based on certain assumptions which in themselves are meaningless. Hence, you want to know what is the reality.
Yeah.
What truly matters versus what you believed matters. What really, truly matters.
Wow. So this pursuit of wanting to find purpose, the meaning, is also a part of seeking to know the reality.
100%.
Having a purpose and meaning is a part of a spirit's reality.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think I can reconcile this idea that one has to know, and these are the questions which come under spirituality and philosophy for me that way. And spirituality and philosophy, I mean, spirituality is in some ways philosophy of the self, or self is probably not the best word you would encourage for me to use, but the philosophy of the spirit. In some ways, could that be called spirituality?
So spirituality, philosophy, psychology, there's an overlap in all 3 of them. For sure, there's no overlap. Because all 3 are on an endeavor to know yourself.
Yeah.
It is just that spirituality asks much more deeper questions, wherein philosophy or psychology just stop somewhere. Philosophy does not enter the realm of experiencing, diving through experience.
Yeah. They
It's
don't go
only
as deep
intellectual.
into the experience.
It's only
yeah.
intellectual.
Yeah.
Psychology is only limited to the mind. Spirituality says, I don't limit myself to mind. I want to understand my life, which is beyond and after the mind. I want to understand life in the context of time, of millions of years also. Was I there before a couple of years, thousands years, hundreds years? Would I be there? Is there something called me which exists after this body dies? Was there something called me which exists before this body was born? If yes, what is it? Because that is what will help me come to terms with what do I do with this limited life wherein I have this experience.
All of this pursuit is not just intellectual curiosity, but all of this contributes to you finding clarity and purpose in this life.
Yes.
And these questions, which sometimes feel distant from everyday life, they come back in a circle and give you a torch, a lamp to kind of lead your life with in some ways.
100%. And this is exactly what a lot of religions have also tried to do, but they have failed because they write a very random, rigid set of laws. This is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. And the idea of good, bad, right, wrong changes with time. In some time,
convenience.
Yeah. At some period of time, it was okay for probably time and place, it was okay for women to cover themselves, perhaps wear a burqa. Maybe because they were living in desert areas, there was sandstorm, or men were very horny, there was less social order, or some other reason in the world, which you and I can only speculate but never know.
Yeah.
In today's time, if a woman is wearing a burqa in a place where there is no desert, the world is safe and all those things,
Yeah, even in a safe world.
Despite feeling very sweaty and warm inside, you're just suppressing her freedom. It loses meaning. In some point of time, it was okay if people do not ask for interest on the loan given, because probably you're exploiting someone. In today's time, if you say don't take a loan, or if you give a loan, don't ask interest. Hello, you cannot survive, you cannot make your wealth grow.
Yeah.
It's impractical, right? In some period of time, it was okay to worship the elements of nature, fire god, water god, sun god, because you thought there might be somebody who's managing all these elements. In today's time, if you tell someone there is something called ocean god, he listens to me. Whenever I give sacrifice of my bull, of my cow, of my sister,
and some people give sacrifice to their own children. By the way, there is history which says you kill your own children, sacrifice them.
Yeah.
And that was the most horrifying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you say I'll kill my children and the water god will be happy and will give me wealth, you say you're an idiot, because that's not the way the world works, right? So religion is probably created by a lot of people who were in spiritual pursuits. Were they enlightened, self-realized? No. But I think they had good intentions. I like to believe that at least. They had good intentions, and they wanted to give everybody direction to live a better life. Then they were living in that period of time. The problem is people hooked onto them, and it's destroyed their own spirit of seeking the reality and thus genuinely living a better life.
They seem to have become guardians of the past.
Guardians of the stories of the past.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely irrational that, now if I say this, it will become very controversial. People will put a lot of comments, but it's absolutely irrational that
if at this moment you're thinking of putting some wild comment, think a little before you do that.
Yeah. You believing that your messenger or Masiha sacrificed himself on the cross or wherever to repent for your sins, and he was the only son of God. That's nonsense. What nonsense is that? If you believe that your messenger Masiha went to heaven on a horse, that's again nonsense. Come on.
Yeah.
If you believe that your God was killed by his father and then his head was replaced by an elephant's head, come on.
We are saying all the controversial things we're not supposed to say in public. So if you are in support, please show some So, please fight with the others in the comments. Sorry, I can't control my laughter. Everything possible that was controversial has been said. We'll keep this in. We won't cut any of this. But no, that reminds me of this one joke when an atheist had a conversation with a very, very devout religious person, and he said, "You know what? You and I are the same. And, the only difference is I believe in one less God than you." And that line was so remarkable for me because it's not even a joke. It's funny, but it's not even a joke. It's like saying, listen, you don't believe in the 7,000 other gods. And if you count the Indian gods, you're talking about, God knows, 33 million or what. But if you don't believe in all of these gods and you said that my one God is the right one, then technically you and I are the same. I reject all of those and just one more.
Yes.
So 33 million and one, that sounds...
Not a big
We're
difference.
kind of the same.
Yeah.
And I found it very funny.
Yes.
Because it kind of highlights the fundamental gap that where everyone thinks that they have this one true God or religion or one belief that is the most sacred. But the fact is, in this moment, you're rejecting every other belief that doesn't match it.
Yes.
So you know what rejecting beliefs means.
Yes.
But then suddenly when someone rejects yours, it becomes a difficult thing.
Yes.
So it's something for us to have honesty and humility in and say, okay, do I also do that? I think it's a moment for us to wonder and say, do I also do that? Is there weight in what was just said right now? And is that an attack on me? Like, if someone is listening to this and feels attacked, I think you should use this as an opportunity to reflect that, okay, I didn't like what was said. They just, kind of completely rejected my belief and my God and my religion at this moment. They must be some really bad atheists that I'm listening to, definitely have no moral compass and evil people. If these are the ideas that are coming out to someone who's listening, I would just encourage that, can you also, before you step into a judgment and make a conclusion that obviously these people are wrong and, probably we have an agenda to sell, just think about this for a minute, that isn't there some truth in this idea that if you're extremely religious and you believe in only one right, true God, and which is okay, believe in that. But remember that you're rejecting everyone else's. So you and someone who's not believing in any are not very different. You know what rejection feels.
Absolutely.
So this, I think, is a moment where I would like people to pause and think, and then maybe we can continue with the rest of the conversation. But I think this is a very important moment for anyone to kind of start their spiritual journey.
Yes.
This could be that small bit of trigger for them to become, for example, for me it was the egg.
Yes.
It kind of put me in a massive dilemma. I came from a science and math background. If there was a question that was asked, it had one right answer. We all start from this belief system because our education system is designed to optimize for determinate answers.
Yes.
It says question hai to answer hoga, and it's going to be precisely one right answer, everything else is wrong.
Yes.
And when I entered and I saw egg, and I was like, wait, this is not like maths, this is not like physics. Because I could see three different ideas in my mind happening simultaneously, and none of them could beat the other one to come out as one right answer. And that was my trigger for that journey. I hope if this offended someone, this is great.
Yeah.
It is great that it would have offended, because this offense, this emotion, this feeling of being hurt could be, for some of the people who are hearing this, for some of you, to use this as a moment for reflection and see, could this be the beginning of your spiritual journey? Is there some validity to this challenge? And this challenge is not because it's not coming from us trying to create chaos and troll the world, for sure. So yeah, I think this could be a great moment in that sense.
Yes, certainly, and I am not the first person who's asking these questions.
Yeah.
They themselves were the very first people who had this question in their own mind when their parents told them about these things. There is God there, where I can't see it. This happened really? Can it really happen? Oh, he lied on the cross, or he flew to the heaven, or this, that. how are you sure about that? They had this question as a child. Now they've forgotten it. And now they believe they're more spiritual. They were more spiritual when they were just born, when they were just learning about the world, because they were full of questions.
And no assumptions.
They wanted to know everything. And they wanted to question everything. And they wanted to experience everything.
Yeah.
And believe nothing. But just because some people whom they trusted, being their parents, relatives, dear ones, said something with utmost conviction and assertiveness, they felt, okay, I trust this person, maybe they are right. And in the journey, they just somewhere borrowed, adopted those beliefs. Because there was something good in that, some good values, some good morals, some goodness about the world. So I thought, okay, if there is this good, then this might also be true.
Yeah.
And hence they also became this identified Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Jews, Buddhists, Jainas, Sikhs, whatever, forgetting that they are just humans. Like Kabir said that, Kabir kuwa ek hai, pani bhare anek. Beautiful lines, yeah. Kabir kuwa ek hai, pani bhare anek, bartan hi mein bhed hai, pani sab mein ek.
Wow.
So he's saying that the well is one. Everybody's just drawing different types of water. And the only difference
Same water but different buckets.
Same water in different buckets.
Yeah.
And the only difference that lies is in your bucket and not in the water which is in it. So we all are same. We all have the same intelligence, same curiosity, same desire to have meaning in life, same desire to have a sense of purpose in life, same desire to have inner peace, to have a sense of a feeling of pleasantness, happiness, joy, fulfillment, achievement, excitement. We all have the same things.
Yeah.
But what prevents us from really having it is this identification with the vessel, then the essence of it, that is the water. Identification that, okay, I am this person, I believe in this God, this belief, this book, this story, and hence this is what life is all about. And if you believe something else, no, it's not about that, it's about this only.
Yeah.
The wars are happening because of that in the world.
Yeah, because we've identified the vessel of my country or this cause or this border.
Yeah, or this religion.
Or this religion. Because of this identification being strong, we have conflicts all the time.
Yeah.
And we now know the extent of how big these conflicts can become.
Yeah, and identification of any kind is dangerous, not just with a religion or a nation or a story, with a gender also. I see people having stupid, and I'm saying it on camera, stupid debates over identification with the gender. And nowadays, the LGBTQ plus IA, I do not know what's the movement going on. Someone is identifying as a dog, as a mushroom, as what not. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
You will only mess up your mind and your life if you keep identifying with a story which is created by your mind.
But then are you also saying, because I think it's important clarification, you said LGBTQIA plus, and then you gave the examples of people identifying as dogs and cats. I want to definitely be clear when I understand this. For example, I identify as a male, Shraddha identifies as a female. How is this different from someone identifying with their orientation and gender and sexuality? Someone says I'm non-binary, someone says I'm a lesbian, I'm a gay person, and queer, and so on. At least before we go to the dog and cat, how is identifying as a male, female, or a third gender, identifying with any of these, are they the same or even that is different?
No, see, even that is the same.
So, me identifying as a male is also a problem, no? Then,
yeah.
If I hold on to the idea I'm a man
exactly.
or I'm a male, so I must do this. That identification
your
you're talking
body's
about.
gender is male.
Yeah.
You don't have a gender.
Oh, so you agree with the LGBT people?
No, what I'm saying is
they sometimes say this.
The LGBT, yeah. So they are usually buying a story. When I say, okay, I am a man, or I am Nakul, or I am an Indian, this is true to an extent because my body is of a masculine, right? My parents have given me the name Nakul, this body and this personality. and I'm born in this country called India, so I'm an Indian by that. But the true me, the real me, has nothing to do with the body, the place I'm born, who I'm born to, the mind, all those things.
Right.
So when people identify themselves as this or that, they're just believing a story created by their mind, is what I'm trying to say.
I think it's a very sensitive idea where it could be, I can imagine, because I have a bunch of friends who do not identify as either of these genders. I think I probably know what they're going to, how they are listening to this. I think I know their perception, and I'll try my best to kind of see. I think in this moment what they hear is that you are right now rejecting how I feel inside as a non-binary person, where I don't find myself conforming to a gender of saying, am I a male or a female? I don't relate with both, but I do relate with something else. Now, is this story of something else beyond male and female, right now I'm being specific to this, is identifying with this strongly, let's call that a certain degree of attachment to the idea. Is it any different when you say to the attachment of me as being a male or this? Because are you classifying this as specific to a gender or independent of gender if you identify strongly with anything? I think you're making that class comment.
Exactly.
It's not a gender orientation,
No.
sexuality question.
Whatever you are identifying it as, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, whatever, or straight, gay, lesbian, binary, non-binary, whatever. All these identifications are coming through stories, ideas, experience, created and processed by your mind in a way which you did not understand. The only difference is you have believed, you've bought those ideas created by the mind. And the more you've bought it, the more you talk about it, the more you behave in it, the more your mind validates it and reasserts it. That is what becomes your identity. The moment you say, I am a confident man, this is what affirmation is all about. I am confident, I am confident, I am confident. You repeat it n number of times, you will start feeling more confident. It's a fact. You repeat, I am a loser, I am a loser, I am a loser, I am a loser, n number of times. And you will start feeling like a loser, behaving like a loser, acting like a loser, without even realizing what made you a loser.
Got it. So I think now I get, because this was a kind of important for us to clarify, because what you're saying is identifications of the mind is that story of, and this is, or the story of the mind is something to be wary of, to be cautious about.
Yeah.
Don't get too entangled into it.
Yeah.
What you're not saying is that if you are attracted to the same gender, you're not calling that a story in itself. If you're attracted to the same gender, you're attracted to it. But if you make your identification a lot about who you're attracted to,
Yes.
whether you're the same gender, opposite gender, the unconventional sexuality of a certain kind, which is normally not seen in society so much,
Yeah.
which was, and probably it's a part of it is because certain people in this segment were oppressed, so they're coming out as a rebellion. I
Yes.
associate with that. Anyone
Yes.
who's been oppressed, they tend to come back with a rebellion.
Yes.
And it applies for, like, I mean, if the Mughals were oppressing Marathas, then the Marathas fought. Now if the society has oppressed women, the women are
Yes.
fighting. If the society has suppressed the LGBTQIA people, they're now fighting back. So these are all different wars and different rebellions in different formats.
Yeah.
What we're not saying is, if you are gay or lesbian, you're telling yourself a story, this can't be real.
No, I'm saying if
This is not what you're
any
saying.
form of identification
Correct.
is a
Correct.
story.
Yeah.
Your true self, your true reality, the true nature of who you are has nothing to do with the story.
Correct.
As long as you remain trapped in the story which your mind has created, you will continue to suffer in life. The moment you are free from the story and you realize that I am something, I'm not even saying someone, I am something much beyond any of the stories which my mind carries. If you actually realize that, not logically but experientially, then you're free from suffering, which every form of identification creates. And you don't need to march, I am LGBTQIA, this is our Pride Month. I mean, a father does not march, I am a father, this is my Pride Month. And you would say a father was never suppressed. Which father is not suppressed? A father is constantly suppressing his feelings, emotions, so many things. He is not going for a vacation because the child has school. He is not buying things for himself because the child needs it. He is not maybe venting out his emotions in front of the child because the child would perhaps not like it or feel my father is not strong. Are fathers not suppressed?
And same goes for mothers, obviously.
Fathers, mothers, children, everybody is suppressed. Who is not? And you will continue to feel suppressed or oppressed, or being the oppressor or suppressor as well, as long as you continue to identify. If you realize that this is a role I am playing, this is a function I am fulfilling, because I am in this world, and for the sake of fulfilling this role, I am doing these things.
So you're saying your spirituality would act as a buffer between who you are and the roles and functions you play, in some ways, 100%. Where you're aware of that you are not the role, you are not the function, you are not the gender, you are not the religion, you are not the name, you're not the body. It acts like a buffer in that sense, just I'm conceptualizing it that way, where it says, it's not the same.
Yes.
Know that you have all of this around you, you are not these.
Absolutely.
And with that buffer, you're able to kind of absorb any, forces that come or the challenges that come from here. You're able to see it from a slight bit of distance.
Yes.
That it's not an attack on me, it's a challenge to a certain possession I have around me. It's right. I think that makes it. It's like if this lamp is something that I've bought, and if you don't like this lamp and you want to break it, in this moment, if I go completely off the rails and start violence, then I had identified too much with the lamp, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Similarly, if you were to comment that, Nivedan, you're so bald, no girl will ever, like you. If in this moment, I completely start hating you and I think you're the worst person to ever exist because you think I'm bald and nobody would like me, how dare you? Then what that says about me is that I identify very strongly with the idea of being bald.
Yes.
I have certain beliefs where bald people are not attractive.
Yes.
And you're saying don't identify this strongly. Otherwise, it's so easy to play with you.
100%.
I will attack you a little bit and you'll immediately get into fight or flight mode.
Exactly. Because see, when you identify with yourself as being something, someone, believer of this, believer of that, you're constantly seeking validation for it.
Yeah.
And you're constantly resisting anybody who does not validate it. So you're in a constant turmoil. You're never happy. You're never at peace. And the whole purpose of your life becomes to prove to everyone in the world that you are what you believe in and that is the truth.
Yeah.
So you want to prove I am smart and I'll prove you I'm smart by earning more money or by getting this reward or recognition.
Or making or insulting you in a group.
Or insulting you in a group. Yeah. Because you believe you're smart, you want them to believe you're smart, and you will do all these things not because you enjoy doing it, you prefer doing it, or it is meaningful in itself.
But you start enjoying the validation of this instead of the thing itself.
Exactly. So if I am to give you an analogy, we're just having kombucha, right? So kombucha basically is in a bottle or in a can, right? And it's essentially water mixed with some tea and some other maybe flavoring agents, chemicals, supplements, all those things.
Yeah.
Now you and I know the true nature of kombucha is that it's essentially liquid, it's water.
Okay.
We can agree on this, right? It has other elements also to it.
It's liquid, not water.
Yeah, but I mean, it's liquid, okay, right? Now, if the kombucha says, okay, who am I? Am I this orange tin which I am in? Am I this glass bottle that I am in? Am I this this flavor that I currently people say I represent? My parents say you are this batch. You're manufactured on this date. You'll get expired on this date. Is that all to me? Will there be nothing about me once once this bottle is expired, right? If the kombucha or if the liquid identifies with the characteristics on the can, this body of the can, the ingredients, the taste, the flavor, the smell, the fragrance, what people are saying about it, it will invite itself to a life of suffering. It will think that defending itself, no, I am kombucha, I am this can, and you all are waste. Your Coca-Cola, you're waste. Your Pepsi, you're waste. Your orange juice, you're waste. Your apple juice, you're waste. Your chach, whatever, your coffee, you're waste. I am most important. I am this, I am that. What will happen? There will be a lot of resistance in the society of this multiple drinks. They will keep fighting, trying to prove I am more important, I am more powerful, I have more strength, more value.
I am healthier.
I am healthier.
I help humans, you harm them.
Yes. They'll spend their entire life doing that.
Yeah.
And what would you say if you were to see them having this debate? Idiots. You're all liquid. With different chemicals, colors, and containers added to you, probably. Essentially, you're all the same. I only made you. I poured some water in this shape into this, with that, and you became a kombucha, you became a Coke, you became a naril pani, you became a juice, you became milk. Essentially, you're all liquid. You can say it. They'll keep fighting. They'll kill themselves and each other. And they'll waste their entire life trying to prove my life, my values, my beliefs, my flavor, my whatever blah 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 is the right thing. And you would, if you look at it, you will say, how stupid, how meaningless, right? कबीरा कुआं एक है, पानी भरे अनेक, बर्तन ही में भेद है, पानी सब में एक. Spirituality is about seeking to know what you really are beyond this identification with your name, religion, nationality, book, anything, gender, caste, engineer or chartered accountant or anything and everything. It says that, hey, these are roles you're playing. This is not who you really are. Your real essence is much beyond any of the roles that you're playing, because you chose this role in the process of life and you will leave this role behind. You are not the role. You're the one behind the role. Right? You're not the character, you're the actor. In fact, you're not even the actor. You are the director.
That's a very good example, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not even the actor.
You're director. You cannot see the director. It does not mean that the director does not exist.
Wow, what an analogy, yeah.
Right? As long as you keep fighting, this character is good, that is good, there will never be peace, happiness, joy, meaning, fulfillment. As long as you keep fighting, this actor is good or that is good, again that will be the same thing. The play is not about the characters or the actors. It's actually about the director. Director's vision, story, intention, which is being portrayed there.
No, wonderful. I think this is a great analogy. And when I was listening to this, I heard a lot of rejections. When I say rejections, we are embodying the idea of let's reject identification with this, with that, and seek what's lying beyond it, right? Now, as soon as someone, and most people, when they hear rejections of this kind, and of wealth, of money, of power, it comes across as, oh, so you want to be a yogi, a monk in the mountains. You want to leave everything behind. You want to leave your family. You want to leave your car and bank and the comforts of the city life, and you want to go settle down into or settle under a tree, be the next Gautam Buddha, right? That's the impression that it gives to someone hearing this actually. So does it mean that spirituality and the material world, they cannot coexist? What is the way for someone who's seeking to reconcile the idea of living in this material world, living in a family, having a certain function. Is spirituality a threat to my parents who want to keep my son, their son in with them? Is it a threat to them in some ways, to their emotions, their identifications? So, do I have to leave my house to be truly spiritual?
Not at all. Because even if you want to become a monk, you just want to shift your identification from being Nivedan to Nivedan Anand Maharaj. From being someone who's wearing cool clothes and jeans to someone who's wearing only orange clothes, that too of a certain
Maybe
material.
let's talk about the most hardcore yogis. Nobody knows them, kind of. There are some people like those also, right? They're not wearing a robe. They're probably sitting naked somewhere, right, in a cave. I'm talking about the most hardcore yogi right now. No, none of the middlemen here. Are they truly the most spiritual people? Should they be classified as the most enlightened and most spiritual?
Not at all. Not at
and someone wearing a black shirt and a brown pant is less spiritual?
Not at all. Because you torturing your body does not make you have any right to have answers to life. Does not make you really authorized to get to know your soul experientially, or that which is beyond the mind experientially. What has that to do with whether you're sitting in a mountain or in a desert? Whether you're wearing a jeans and a pant or wearing a orange or white kurta pajama or a green turban or nothing whatsoever. These are false ideas. People thought sometime in the past that as long as I'm in the world, I'll keep running behind these cravings for pleasure, and the cravings for pleasure never end, and this is why I keep suffering. So let me just take an oath, I'll not chase any pleasure. I'll
go
not
away
chase
from all Maya.
all of it. But where do you go? You take it inside you, with you. I've been to Varanasi Ghat, Banaras Ghats, and a lot of you might have gone, you might also have gone. I have seen these renunciate yogis standing on a shelf and playing with their penis in front of everyone while the Ganga Aarti is happening. I have no idea how playing with your penis makes you spiritual. Wanting to show, see, we are so strong, so evolved, we can play with a penis, with a rod, with a danda, and nothing can happen to us. Great. A girl who does some good yoga, gymnastics, can dislocate and relocate her shoulder, can turn her hand 360 degrees. Does that make her a yogi or a realized person? They carry a different level of ego. What have they renounced? Nothing. Few clothes, few money, few positions, few relatives. But they have not renounced the identification with something, the desire to seek others' appreciation, others' admiration, others' superiority over others. They've not renounced seeking validation. They are still dependent on others for feeling better within themselves. A spiritual person is that who is not dependent on others for feeling good within yourself. Because the whole purpose of life, Nivedan, for any human being out there is nothing but to feel pleasant, feel happy as long as you can, as much as you can, as constantly and consistently as you can. Nobody cares about moksha. Nobody cares about heaven and hell. Nobody cares about anything else except this feeling of pleasantness, happiness, joy. You can call it different words, but you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason nobody gets that feeling in a sustained way is because they are constantly identifying themselves as something and thus fighting with everybody else who identify themselves as something else or someone else, or who say you are not what you identify as. Spirituality makes you free. It helps you realize that nothing that you identify with is a fact. It is just an assumption. It makes you liberated from anyone's and your own assumptions, beliefs, notions. And it does makes you really truly peaceful, really truly joyful, without a reason, because your true nature is that. A child is born very happy, very peaceful. A child is only crying when he is hungry perhaps, or there is some pain in the body. Otherwise, a child never cries, is laughing for no reason. And we were all that child. Now that we've grown up, we are more free. We don't need to depend on the mother for food, for shelter, for urine, for this or that. We should actually be happier, more peaceful, more joyful. We should laugh much, much more than we laughed when we were young. But we do not. Because we trap ourselves into these multitudes of identification. This is what spirituality gives you: freedom from those identifications, realization that you're nothing that you identify with, and the guarantee, not authority, the guarantee, the possibility of feeling at peace, feeling great constantly. Hence, it's the spirit of knowing the reality, or perhaps the process of knowing the reality of the spirit, which is this Sat, Chit, Anand. This is what we call in India, right? The true nature of the self is Anand, bliss, unending happiness, infinite, Anant. Anand is that which is Anant. Infinite joy, Sat, Chit, that's the true nature. It helps you realize, experience, know that and be that. And hence say all these ideas, realization that you have so honestly in a podcast, despite knowing there would be hundreds and thousands of perhaps hate comments or abuses or even threats or whatnot, for people who feel offended. Because your intention is to spread the same joy. And your joy is not dependent on others. You're free to experience it and share.
This in itself is a beautiful idea. I think we can all agree that we would want to feel most pleasant for the longest periods of time with minimal interruptions. This nobody would disagree with. But I have an auntie that I can imagine right now, I know her specifically, who would say the first thing here. In fact, my college counselor as well. When I said I want to go for 10 days of Vipassana in the middle of college, I want to take a year break. And this is supposed to be the counselor, okay? And I say I want to go meditate for 10 days. Her response, and she tells this to my parents, "Vapis nahi aaya to kya hoga? What if he doesn't come back? What if he leaves everything behind? What if he leaves the family? Forget the degree. That's the least of it. What if he never comes back?" I'm like, you're the counselor. Aren't you supposed to be the bright one? Right? At least brighter than me. You have grey hair. So, I still remember that moment, and it was a big deal because I was trying to get a year break in college. I usually don't talk about this, but I can hear certain people saying that, oh, this person who's happy without a reason, doesn't need the money or the wealth, or will have no striving in life. What will they strive for? When they're already happy, why will you strive? Why will you put in the extra effort? Right? Why will you ever want to earn money? Why will you ever want to learn a skill? Why will you take up a job, run a business? Why would you take care of if you already now have a family, wife and kids especially. Parents as a family separate, but wife and kids is separate in terms of taking responsibility. That you become extremely irresponsible, unreliable member of society. And you hence become a threat to the society. This is what you can imagine totally, and I'm sure you have seen versions of this 1,000 times. So why are these people wrong or right?
Because they fail to understand that a person who's experiencing joy or completeness within, without any dependency on anyone else, is the only one who can share it. Everybody else will only want to use the other person to seek it. This is the only person who can truly share it. This person who does not identify himself as different from anyone else and feels bartan hi mein bhed hai, pani sab mein ek. I am also the same water, you are also the same water. I am also the same God, you are also the same God. I am the same soul, you are the same soul. Would actually be more sensitive towards someone who is experiencing pain, discomfort, sadness than someone who does not feel that the
Fair,
other person is
but
the same
then
as this one.
why will this person take up a job?
He will take up a job if he has to fill his stomach. He also has a stomach. Feeling joy is not the same as feeling energetic. Because energy comes from fuel, which is food. He will take up a job. He will take up a job because if he gets hurt, he has to go to the hospital. And hospital does not treat you because you're joyful.
Yeah,
They
these
treat
are
you if you
simpler
have-
answers than I expected,
Yeah.
but they make sense. Yeah.
Right? If he's joyful, it does not mean he will go in scorching heat, walking bare feet from one city to another. He is not against using a car with an air conditioner or wearing a good comfortable slippers or good comfortable clothes. Being joyful does not mean you choose discomfort or physical pain.
So you will do things when they are necessary because you at the end are in a human body.
Yeah.
And you may have certain relationships that you want to take care of. Even in that moment, now that you don't identify, let's say, with your family, the fact that you are a son of these two people,
Yeah.
right? And you are the husband of a particular woman here. And so if these identifications don't matter and you can see the water, not the vessel,
Yeah.
and as long as it's not about your bodily needs, I'm talking about relationships with your close ones, maybe at a larger scale with the society, why would you care about that?
Well, your own expectations from anyone, they go drastically down firstly. Your ego goes out of the way because, right? Now, why would you care about them? It's a simple reason. You want to care about everyone. And most of the self-realized people, you've seen them, the Gautam Buddhas of the world, the Mahavir, the Guru Nanak, the Sai Babas, I mean, a lot of them, right? What do you see them doing? They are wanting to help every person feel free of any and every pain they have. So when you have to live a normal life in the world, right? What's the harm in living with people who value you, who've cared for you, and who have been caring for you perhaps for 2, 3, 4 decades? You want to care for everyone else. Why do you want to exclude them? So a spiritual person, would they really abandon their family? They don't need to. They could if the family is hell bent on you have to do this only, that, not that, this and not that. If they want to truly interfere in your life, then you would say, hey, please don't do it. If they don't stop, you'll say, okay, thank you. I'm going my way.
So you don't owe it to them in that way that you will, you will have a sense of boundary here, where they're like, my goal was to maximize my duration and intensity of pleasantness. Now you're constantly interrupting it, and for no good reason. In which case, you will say that we have to part ways.
Yeah, that's the last resort, I'm saying. See, anybody you live with will interrupt you. And if you do not live with anyone, then the responsibilities of running your own house will interrupt you. Everything has its fair share of costs, you have to, everything has its own cost. So if their interruption is in a manageable level, then you're okay with it. But some people are like, nahi, you have to go to the office, do this business only, earn this much money, buy this car, wear these clothes, go on that vacation, get us a bigger house. If you feel unnecessarily someone is behind your back because they derive their own happiness from you buying, achieving, collecting, accomplishing certain things or goals in life,
Yeah.
then initially you'll explain them. If they fail to understand, then you will say thank you and leave. So some people who realize themselves, all of them try to explain. If the parents do not understand, they leave. And if they understand, parents, family members, wife, children, whatever, then they are there with them. We have examples of so many people who are realized. Ramakrishna Paramhans was realized and living with his wife. Right? And there's a Ramana Maharshi who was living alone, away from everybody else. And our world is full of a lot of such examples. Probably Guru Nanak had wife and children, and his successors too had Kabir had, perhaps Gorakhnath had, I'm not very sure. And there were some who did not. Gautam Buddha had.
So then, no, fair enough. I think there are enough examples of both kinds.
Yeah.
So you're saying that one doesn't have to necessarily think of it as one solid, singular path.
Yeah.
If you're okay, I want to make this question more personal, right? You got married, 2.5 years ago? And I told you before this podcast also that, I realized I have somehow forgotten to ask you this question out of all the stupid questions I ask you. And just for context, once I asked him that, do you have food preferences anymore? Like, is there something that you like more than any other food? And he said, I kind of like a little bit more papad. So I'd kind of, when we were doing dinner today, I said, at least we'll get the papad. I remembered that bit. But it was an amusing question to me. I knew what I was asking. And that, the fact that you now don't have attachments,
Yes.
does that also mean you don't have preferences? And if there are preferences, how strong or weak are they? You said, if there is papad, I enjoy it. If there is not, I still enjoy it. But if there is slightly bit more enjoyment, it's okay. But I'm not dependent on papad for my enjoyment. That's how you are kind of
Exactly.
answered this question.
Yes.
That was very easy for me to understand, right? Because I think we all have such examples where there are certain things which don't have power on us. But then most of us have some things which have quite a lot of power. If that, we can only be happy if that happens.
Yeah.
And I think what you would say is that is it fair to say that there is a certain sense of that, nothing is as important to me that if it doesn't happen, my happiness is shaken in a big way. Can we say that?
100%.
Right?
100%.
So then you took a decision to get married, and Shraddha is right now here with us. So I'm talking in front of her. I want to know at a more personal level, why did Nakul get married? And what role does it, or what purpose does this serve for you? And obviously for Shraddha as well, as a couple also. So both these questions.
It's very simple. I never planned to marry for sure. In fact, my plan was clear to not get married. And I felt everybody who's marrying is unnecessarily, entering into a trap perhaps, because then they feel they cannot part ways if tomorrow the love ends or the compatibility ends. That's why I'm calling it a trap.
Yeah.
So why did I marry? When Shraddha came to my life, whatever work I was doing, she was equally aligned with it, interested in it. She shared the same purpose. Plus, I felt that none of the things that might distract me, which could be like, if a girl is saying, why are you running behind serving people? Earn money and give me jewelry, give me foreign trips, give me a BMW, give me this gift and that gift. So she had none of those characteristics or desires rather, which would become a distraction from what I have chosen as my purpose in this life. Whatever she was doing was only supporting it, amplifying it much, much more. And so I thought, when it's supporting, amplifying what I'm doing much, much more, she is such a sincere spiritual seeker. And everything that she's doing, saying, the way she's being, is only supporting whatever I'm choosing, and my life also in general. Then what's the harm in staying together? There's no harm in staying together with any human being, right? But if I have to stay together with her at my own house, it would not be as comfortable for my parents and my relatives, because they are not liberated yet. They're still in the same identity, right? And they still bother about, oh, what will the world say? What will they think? What will happen? So would be the case with her parents and her family as well. So for the sake of their convenience, their comfort, their easiness, I said, okay, let's marry. But you should know that a marriage was not unlike any other marriage process. There was no priest in a marriage. There was no havan, even though we belong to Hindu families.
No, you didn't do any havan also.
No havan, no fere, no barat. And we had a grand wedding, although we wanted a very simple one.
Wait. None of this happened, but you had a grand wedding. So everyone was feasting.
They were feasting. There were thousands of people. And we wanted only 100. Because they wanted that. We tried convincing them. They were getting very unhappy. We were like, okay. But we will not get into the circus of having a priest who's saying some mantras which mean nothing to us, nor to you. Of taking vows which we don't believe in. Of unnecessarily getting on a horse and playing Ringa Ringa Roses around the hall and doing a traffic jam with people dancing on the streets and sweating in their heavy clothes. It just did not make any sense. So we did what we felt was meaningful. We used water, we wrote our own vows because people want something, right? We used water as a medium to symbolize them because water is a marker of life, fire, death, right? We did dance, we danced a lot, but in a proper ground where, we don't end up jamming the traffic and troubling anyone. And why do I have to be on the horse if I love to dance? Troubling the innocent animal, right? And of course, for the sake of legality, we called the registrar, and signed all those things. So we married because society, when I say society, the people with whom we are living would feel peace and easy through that. And we're okay with it, doesn't make a difference. One of our vows also was that if tomorrow we feel it's not working with both of us, if the love is not there anymore, we agree, we take a vow to part ways gracefully with a lot of love and gratitude in our hearts.
How public can you make the rest of the vows?
Everything. There were 800 people in the hall.
So
you can share the video.
So I'm going to get vows from you and I want to put them in the description below.
Feel free.
I am really curious because I don't want to make this podcast about all the vows right now. But I think it's an example for people to take. And I think a part of me is still a little unsettled, obviously, which is partially curious, partially unsettled. I'll be very honest. That, like, okay, how does this work? Right? Kind of, how does that make sense? And what you're saying does make sense. So I think probably, maybe I would be curious about how does your relationship as a, one is with the family, you two as a operating and talking to your family and, trying to keep peace around you, and it sounds fair, but within you have a certain agreement. So how is your relationship different from, let's say, the classic relationships I see? Obviously, I can imagine you say that we don't bicker over the smallest things, but what is it like? Tell me, how do you guys fight? What does fight mean for you? What does conflict mean for you? I want to know that.
So we never have fought, Nivedan. We've known each other for, I think, 3.5 or 4 years now. We've been married for more than 2.5 years. We've never had a fight.
Conflicts
Never.
would have to come. Two humans cannot live conflict free.
I'll tell you what I mean when you say conflict. We've definitely had points of disagreement.
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to happen. And for us, it's very simple. If there's a disagreement, I'll share my perspective. She will share her perspective. I'll try to explain why I think her perspective is wrong and mine probably is right. She'll try to explain why mine is wrong and hers is right. While doing this, also listening to the other's perspective and acknowledging, okay, I think this is right. I need to reflect over here, right? Because the perspectives are not us, they're a perspective. And if in the end we both are unable to reconcile that, okay, this one perspective is the right one, then we agree to disagree. Okay, you consider this to be right, I'll consider that to be right. And with time we'll explore and experiment and see which perspective works out. If tomorrow my perspective fails, I am okay to acknowledge, okay, it was wrong, I agree. What you were saying was right. And the same is with her. So it's not about I am right, you are wrong, or you are right, I am wrong. It's not about that. Our expectations amongst each other are very clear, crystal clear, I would say.
There are other operational things. One is this, having an agreement or disagreement on ideas and beliefs. There are other things. For example, I just want to make it more mundane, okay? The most mundane I can make. So there are some low stakes things. You want to watch a comedy movie, she wants to watch a romantic movie, for instance, example, right? That is easier to resolve. You'll say, okay, आज तुम्हारी वाली देख लेते हैं, कल मेरी वाली देख लेंगे. ठीक है? That's easier to resolve. But let's say there is this one event, someone's in the family is getting engaged, and maybe you don't want to go, but she wants to go. now, and she wants to go with the two of you, and you're like, nahi jana hai. Ab ye to, this is one time event, and either you two go or not go at all. There has to be a conflict there.
There is never a conflict there. First and foremost, if there is such a situation, we both want to either go or not go. So our interests and values are very much aligned. Very much aligned. It's very rare for this to happen, but it's the case. If there's a case where there's a disagreement that she wants to go, I do not want to go, then we have a conversation. Sometimes I choose, okay, I'll go with you. If she feels that me coming along with her is necessary. And if that's not the feeling, then she gives me the space, okay, I'll go alone and you don't come. Or vice versa. So we both are not dependent on each other for such things, latching on to each other for our own happiness, for our own sense of security, completeness. That's not the case. There's a tremendous feeling of freedom, completeness, security within, which helps us to not be dependent on each other for such petty things which most people make very big in their own life, right? And there is huge respect for the other's choices as well, because for me, although I use the word she's my wife, but in my mind, she is not my wife.
Yeah.
She's an individual who is staying with me, who's choosing to spend her life with me, her precious time with me.
Yeah.
And I can only be grateful for that. In the process of living together, there have to be some adjustments, right? That we both do whenever required. But there's no friction about it. If she wants something which I don't want to do, but it doesn't harm me while doing, I do it. And vice versa.
Okay.
And if it's very strong for me, I don't want to do it for some reason, then she respectfully agrees to it.
Sounds like the perfect relationship.
Huh.
I'm going
It
to
does
keep,
sound like that.
I'm going to keep a tab every year and see how many fights you had last year.
Please do. It can change. With time, people change, their priorities change, their values change, their beliefs, notions, ideas, everything changes. It can change. It can become a miserable relationship also. We both are open to the idea that can happen. Not wanting that to happen.
At this moment, it is not spirituality, this is stoicism. Imagine the worst that can happen. We have imagined it already, and we have resolved that also.
Yeah. So this is practicality, na? I mean, spirituality is very much practicality also. It's not impractical that thinking, oh, this is happening because in my past life I did that. It is the fruit of my past life. Or that day I promised I'll keep a fast. I did not keep a fast. God is angry. I promised I'll go to the temple, I did not go, God is angry. That's not practicality. This is practicality.
Got it. No, thank you for the candid conversation on this. I know it's a very personal question that I had asked. But with this, I think I want to move to the last part of our conversation, which is, I am very personally keen to know if there are some cool hacks you can offer us. Okay, that's what I'm interested in. I mean, when I hear the idea of spirituality, or anyone hears, it sounds like a lifetime of meditation. It's like at the extreme, it's like I have to go to the Himalayas, strip off all my clothes, sit in a tiger skin, find a tiger to hunt, rip it off, and then, only then, can I ever be enlightened and awakened. Now that's the ultimate extremity. There is one, pragmatic, balanced view that you have presented, which you're embodying of being a member of the society also. Now, let's say for most of us who are not going to go to the mountains for sure, I'm not going to go there. In fact, I'm like, city life is good. गांव में और जंगल में ही क्यों जाना है? ब्लिंकेट आ रहा है 10 मिनट में, तुम जंगल जा रहे हो. ठीक है, वहाँ पे तो पेड़ पे चढ़ के खुद ही को आम तोड़ना है, अगर आम हुआ तो. So I'm just saying, the point is, what I want to know is there a way for me to accelerate growth on my spiritual journey with some small efforts which are not for a lifetime, right? Which don't consume my entire lifetime. What are the smallest things I can do which can give disproportionate rewards? That is what I mean by spiritual growth hack. right? The world is obsessed with the idea of hacks. If I get some nice ideas, I would love to adopt some of these. But can you give us some?
Constantly make an effort to identify your constant patterns, habits of functioning. The way you laugh, talk, walk. Do you surrender? Do you tend to dominate? Do you tend to hold yourself back? Do you want to go all out and show off? You always have pattern. Everybody functions in patterns.
Yeah.
Right? Constantly try to identify that and to break it. Very simple. If you laugh a particular way, practice a week of trying to laugh a different way.
Practice that.
Practice that. If you sleep with the left side, on the bed and right on top, practice sleeping straight. If you cannot sleep without the fan running, practice doing that. Try doing that. It might seem difficult, but at least make an effort to do that.
And why will I do that? What will I get out of this?
You will get very fluid out of this. You will get to break your pattern. Your patterns are nothing what people earlier called as karmo ka bandhan, which keeps you stuck, rigid in your beliefs. The moment you try to break your patterns by challenging them and choosing to do something else, you realize, hey, was this pattern even right, even necessary, even so important, even good? Why? And with this, gradually you become a person who's actually very conscious, because you're noticing the way you're walking, talking, laughing, eating, acting, reacting, responding, getting angry, getting sad, depressed, annoyed, anything and everything. And you're trying to change it. So you do not remain identified as someone, because this someone has to have a fixed definition.
Yeah.
What is constantly changing cannot be defined.
So interesting. So first hack is to constantly observe your patterns in the way you talk, walk, sit, laugh,
Eat.
cry, eat. Like your preferences
Anything
in
and
sweet
everything.
versus,
Yeah.
am I eating a namkeen versus a chocolate ice cream versus what?
Yeah.
Just notice what you like and what you don't like. First, notice that. Second, in that step, try to do something else than that pattern.
Yeah.
Because when you try to do something else than that pattern, I think we see an urge towards that pattern again, which highlights that pattern. Because I think I've noticed this at least, that for example, right after dinner, I realized, right after dinner, we would often have mangoes. And right after mangoes, I would feel the urge to want to have a chocolate. Now, otherwise, it's not necessary for me to have a chocolate. So after the dinner, mango feels nice, and after the mango, chocolate feels nice. And I realized this not when the chocolate was available. I realized when the chocolate was not available. Right? So I realized, I just had a mango, and I felt, chocolate, should I order it? I'm checking the fridge 3 times. The chocolate is still not there. Oh, this one is too sweet. Dairy Milk Silk, I don't eat it. I need a dark chocolate. Then I caught myself, wait, I feel this need for chocolate every time I have mangoes. And then I said, what if I don't do it today? I remember doing this, who'll order now? It'll come after 15 minutes. So I dropped that day. And I realized my life went on.
Exactly.
Right? So, but this, when my default pattern couldn't be completed, is when I became conscious of it.
Yes.
I think that seems fair to say, now sleep straight instead of on one side, because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's the same as saying don't eat chocolate after mango and see what happens.
Yeah.
So it forces you to get into a little bit of, pay attention to that pattern. Very interesting. So that's a great hack. And it doesn't require additional time out of my life to sit down for 1 hour of meditation, close my eyes, deal with the monkey in my mind. So, because I'm sure we can, that's why I want to go beyond meditation, which you obviously would recommend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that you would, so since that is obvious, I don't want to spend time on that. What other things can I do?
Try to ask questions as much as you can to others, for sure, to even yourself. Why is this person behaving like this? And the answers that come might not be a finite answer or a conclusive answer. That's okay. But question as much as you can, rather than having beliefs, notions, ideas. Fall in love with wonder, with curiosity, with questioning. And it's very simple to ask questions. In a conversation, are you expressing more, teaching more, sharing more about you, what you think is right, what Modi should have done and Trump should have done? Are you questioning more? What do you think is the right choice? Why is that so, according to you? Okay, what about you, sir?
Why could have Modi made this decision? That, I mean, turning into Modi made a decision because he wants that, versus why did Modi really make this decision, right?
Yes.
I read this in the article, but how do I know this article is well intentioned?
Yes.
Who is even writing this article? This is one way of looking at it, versus this article is always funded by the left.
Yes.
Right? Is this a difference you're saying?
Exactly. You should fall in love with questions. And you were born in love with questions. Somehow you forgot to ask questions. And I say you, I mean everyone else.
Yeah.
Right? The more we ask questions, the more we realize that there are so many perspectives to everything. And a lot of perspectives can seem right at the same moment. And they can also be right. Something can be a propaganda, an agenda funded by someone, also a fact which is hidden but tried to being brought out. All of it could be true. And all of it can also be false. But the moment you fall in love with questions, the more you realize there are so many subjectivities to anything which you think is objective. There is nothing absolute, everything is very relative. And thus anything and everything you believe has all the chances of being wrong. So you will become more receptive, more experimental, more observation, more thoughtful really. You'll genuinely become more conscious. You'll genuinely become more spiritual without wanting to. I never wanted to become spiritual. I ended up becoming spiritual. I come from a Marwadi family. Nobody thinks of becoming a spiritual guru in a Marwadi background. You want to be an entrepreneur, a CA, and I studied CA also, right? I ended up becoming a self-realized person and hence a spiritual teacher, very, very naturally. It wasn't a plan. And what I was doing, if I share with you, you'll think, Nakul, you did not go to the mountain. You didn't even go to any guru. No Vipassana, no Sudarshan Kriya, no this engineering, no that mantra chanting, no this breath work.
No stars also aligned.
No stars aligned, no Gita, Puran, Upanishad read. I cannot believe you got enlightened. I cannot believe you are spiritual. I cannot believe you even understand what is meditation. But isn't the same thing that happened with countless people? Countless. So many of them. Whomsoever you consider spiritual or realized. So many. You go to the backstory. Hardly any of these factors were present because all they had was an incessant curiosity to know who they are, what is life, what is right, what is wrong. They would just ask a lot of questions. Gautam Buddha was asking questions. Why does someone die? Anybody you take, they were asking questions. In the Bible it is written, he who seeketh shall find it. He who searches will find it. It's not that he who believes will find it.
Yeah.
He who seeks will find. Nanak said in the Guru Granth Sahib, Jin khoja tin paiya. The one who seeks, who searches, he finds. Not the one who comes to a Gurudwara and bangs his head on the ground. He never says that. Right? We say commonly in Hindi, ढूंढने वाले को तो खुदा भी मिल जाता है. डैश 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 क्या चीज़ है. We never say किताब पढ़ने वाले को, मंत्र जपने वाले को, पहाड़ पे जाने वाले को खुदा मिल जाता है. से ढूंढने वाले को. ढूंढने का पहला साइन क्या है? सवाल पूछना. So the more you ask questions, the more spiritual you are naturally becoming.
So I want to make this into a further hack. Is there one question that can begin the curiosity about anything? Begin, not the only question, but is there one question I can ask as a simple practice every single time that leads me to a curious state of mind?
Sure. I'll give you one word, not even one question. That one word is why.
Let's take an example.
You're getting angry.
Let's say I'm getting angry right now.
Why am I getting angry? Arey, because my mother did not cook this food. Why is that making me angry? Because I wanted her to cook this and she has not. So why should I be angry about it? Arey, because I want it. She should have done this. Why do I think she should do whatever I want? She has to. She's my mother after all. I do so much for her.
She's supposed to take care of me.
I do so much for her. Why do I do so much for her? Because I love her. Doesn't she love me? Why is her not cooking my favorite dish connected to her not loving me? Or I do so much for her. Blah blah blah. Do I really do everything she wants me to do? Why do I think so? Why do I think love is about doing so much for her and not being there for her? Just ask whys to every answer which comes and try and make that why more pointed towards you. Then to why did he do this to me? He's jealous. Why is he jealous? He has to be jealous.
He's always been like this.
He's always been like this. Why? His parents are like that. Why? His community is like that.
Yeah,
why?
He's from that caste. No, he's from that caste.
Yes.
That happens.
Yes.
In this caste. That's how people talk.
Exactly.
Right. For example, we had a joke today. My father said, "Oh, you're an Agarwal. Agarwal लोगों के तो पेट बहुत मोटे होते हैं."
Yes.
So this is a conversation we had, right?
Exactly.
So my father's questioning might sometimes stop at this. That why is this person having such a big belly? Agarwal, okay. I got my answer. Right? So this is a harmless one, but the same thing applies to much more harmful idea. So why? Okay, so what I get from this is, and it seems like a very reasonable thing to say, that it's a wonderful spiritual hack or spiritual growth hack to start asking why more often. So this is the second one.
And
start asking
yourself,
why and why to point it towards you instead
you,
of pointing it towards outside or others.
Yeah.
Great. And I want to take a third hack. I want to complete a stack of 3 hacks today that people can really start using. The first one was to start noticing your patterns in every way and start to deviate from those patterns consciously. The second one is to ask why and point it towards you. Very specific. This now is very specific. Is there something else you can think of?
Yeah. Do you remember playing games in childhood? Especially the game Statue.
The game Statue. Okay. Yes.
Someone will point a gun and say statue and you will freeze.
Yes.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Try playing Statue with yourself. Throughout the day, random times.
I will not move.
Still, get frozen. Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're doing, just become Statue.
Okay.
Play Statue. 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Let your phone have a prompt. Put maybe reminders at random times.
Interesting.
Where it buzzes and says statue and follow it. Maybe follow it with a voice command. The phone says statue, if that's possible. Or maybe some AI tool can make it possible, right? And actually get statue. Unless it's totally inconvenient. I mean, you're in a urinal and it's impossible to be statue. You're driving a car, it's impossible to get statue.
Yeah, in the middle of the car, you're like, oh, I can't.
Unless in that moment it's absolutely impossible, become statue. Okay, you cannot become statue physically like this. What will people think of me? I have a reputation to maintain. Okay, be normal. Don't use your hands. But be statue internally. Don't move. Sit.
What am I getting out of this?
You're getting to be more observant. You're getting to see what's going on inside you. You're becoming a witness and observer of your own mind, of your own restlessness, of your own emotion, of your own temperament, of your own moods, of your own reactions. Because the mind will go on, it will want to go on, but you are playing statue. So you will see its drama happening in real time. You will become an observer.
Wow.
In Hindi we call it the Sakshi Bhav, Drashta Bhav.
And I don't have to close my eyes.
No.
I don't have to necessarily focus on my breath.
Nothing whatsoever.
Right? This is not that.
Not that.
That is a different practice.
Yeah.
But in the middle of the day, 30 seconds, 50 seconds, some small number, whatever is manageable in that moment, I do that. Yeah, because as soon as you become still, your body throws urges at you. Because when you don't respond to those urges seem to surface a bit like more clearly in your observation. Otherwise, they skip your observation.
Yeah.
Like I'm moving my hand like this. I'm not thinking about doing this. But now when as soon as, if I forcefully stop my body language while talking, I will start feeling the urge to move and then do this. So statue is a way to resist the urge, not to resist it, but to notice it.
Exactly. Statues are a way to notice that there is an urge, to become aware of it.
And this ties back to the first hack of notice your patterns. So it will tie back to that. So, and make it easier. It will
Yeah.
create that condition
Yeah.
for easier practice of
Yeah.
observation.
Because usually you will only notice very visibly apparent patterns, like
The
how
stool,
I'm
the
laughing
macro
and
ones.
walking, macro ones. The moment you become statue, random times,
Hmm.
you will notice the subtle patterns of how your mind is behaving, the thoughts which are coming, how your body has an urge to do this, how you're not in charge of anything. You're mostly like a machine, autopilot. You'll see all that happening and you'll realize, shit, what is this? And eventually, if you also do it rightly, you'll also realize that I am not the mind. Because if I am the mind, I am the mind, then the mind is running. But I'm not reacting to it. I'm not wanting it to run. I'm not reacting to it. I am on the contrary noticing that it's running. I want to be statue, it's running.
So I cannot be the mind because I'm noticing. If
So-
I'm noticing the mind, I cannot be the
You
mind.
cannot be that which you are able to notice. You cannot notice your nose because it's very close, very attached. You can notice your hands. This part, maybe not. This part, yes.
That
Because
is why
here
we
it's
have a
attached.
stronger
There it's
identification with our face, let's say, than our hands and legs.
Yes.
Probably because we actually don't see it as often. Weirdly, we have to think about this.
Yes. So, you can only notice something which you're not closely attached to,
Yeah.
or which you
Yeah.
are not, perhaps. You will eventually realize you're not the mind.
So is it fair to say the practice of noticing itself releases us of attachment,
Absolutely.
right?
100%. Noticing, not thinking about what you're noticing.
Yeah.
Some people in the process of noticing tend to start thinking about what they're noticing.
Oh, so for example, this lamp, in this moment, so I'll just see how this could be different, right? So if this lamp I were to notice, now there are two ways to notice this. One is, like this, I just kind of put a loudspeaker to my mind right
Sure.
now, okay? So I'll be like, nice lamp, red and round. It's roughly 1.5 feet tall. And the light is kind of low, dim, yellowish. It has a white, wire coming out of it for power. It is kept on a wooden table. I see a reflection of this umbrella light happening here. Now, this is one way of noticing it,
Yeah.
where I kind of put a loudspeaker to my mind and I'm actually thinking out my thoughts. So, this is one type of noticing where I'm noticing it with language and words, assigning it labels,
Yes.
and giving it certain meaning and context and all of that. That is
Yes.
one form of noticing.
Yes.
What is the other form of noticing?
The other form of noticing is only watching it without trying to attach any words, any labels, any characteristics to it.
How does that even look like?
You just notice the feeling that arises from it.
Feeling that arises from it within me. So I'm actually noticing my feeling, not the lamp.
Exactly.
What?
The lamp is a medium for you to notice the feeling. When I look at the lamp,
Yeah.
when you say, oh, it's red, so what? If I were to call it green, blue, yellow, it changes nothing. But the moment I'm defining it, my mind is still functioning.
Yes.
But the moment I
You can't
see
put a
it-
loudspeaker if you don't operate in words.
Exactly. So when you try to see it and your mind says it's red, I don't care. Just see what's there. Arey, what's there? It's a lamp. I don't care. See what's there. Arey, Nakul, don't bore me, yaar. I have other things to do. It's a lamp. It's a yellow light. It's red. It's this, that. Just look at it. What look at it? It's circular. This, that. Okay. Just look at it. And I notice my mind now acting crazy, getting silent for some time, then wanting to make me think of something else, some other thing I had to do, or I have to do, or I have done. And I'm saying, hey, where are you? Notice this.
So the object is not important. It's an instrument for me to bring back my mind to
It's
the
an
same
anchor.
place. It's an anchor. So I'm not really noticing the object. I'm using this as a anchor. So once I give my mind a direction, a precise vector, then every time it goes away, I can catch it and I have a place to bring it back to.
Exactly.
Is that fair to say?
Exactly.
It's the idea is to give your mind a place to be directed. So this puts you in a director mode. It puts you in a charge mode.
Charge mode, because so you're like the ship, the mind is like the waves. The ship ordinarily gets carried away by the waves without realizing it's getting carried away, and it keeps sailing here and there and where not. The moment you put the anchor, the waves come and go, you remain there, and suddenly you realize, shit, these waves have been making me dance their fancy all my life. I was believing I am the wave, I am the storm, I am this and that. I am going in that direction. In reality, I have never been going anywhere. The waves have been going here and the waves have been going there. And I have just been getting carried away by them. I am nothing that the waves are. I am just in a relationship with the waves of some kind, but I am not the wave. Are you getting the point? I am the ship. The moment you use an anchor, you are able to eventually become aware of what's going on within you, in your mind. You are able to become disassociated, detached from the mind.
Wow.
And thus you are able to move closer towards your true self. Become conscious, become aware. All these words that you wanted a definition of, now you would not want a definition, you would experientially know it.
So these practices, I think we've spoken about 3, and I want to sum them up towards the end of our conversation. And I think this is an important takeaway for people here. One is the conceptual understanding, the idea that we should all, kind of take a pause and try to know the nature of reality. We need to have that spirit within us to want to seek for the truth, for the reality, and for the purpose and the meaning behind everything that we do, whether it be at the scale of life and the existential questions, whether it be the everyday decisions that we have. Everything has to be anchored in something that gives us purpose and meaning. It has to be anchored there. That is why I think we've spoken about that bit. We've spoken about what spirituality really means and why is it so different from the ideas of religion or God or energy or so many other pseudo sciences that are out there. We spoke about what identification means and why that can, that is practically at the root of all suffering. Where we took an example of the identification people have with their own gender, with their sexual orientation, with their family name, with their caste, with their religion, with their country, and how that obviously leads to the feeling of us versus them or me versus the other, and hence evolve into conflicts of all kinds to the end of someone bombing the other. Like we're talking about mass elimination of people. That is in a way an exaggerated consequence of the same root cause. So we spoke about that. We also got into your personal life a little bit, where I had this itch to know how does that work, that someone who is awakened and has found a certain spiritual depth engages in a very is in the epitome of social structure, which is a marriage. You kind of put out, what that setup looked like for you and what were the decisions that you had made and two of you had made as a couple, and with your family, what role do you want to play, and why you don't agree at all that someone needs to go to the Himalaya and torture their body to be ever deserving of happiness and pleasantness for life, right? Or to be credible enough for that. I think we spoke about a lot of these things, and most importantly, the takeaways, which I think I want to conclude with a very clear call to action for people to consider this very strongly, at least. If you find, if you've stuck till here and, this conversation was very personal to us and the cameras are incidental, right? We're not doing this for the cameras, but I want to come back to the audience now and then say, if any of these ideas resonated and if you found some of these stupid, feel free to comment any of that. What is more important is if it got you thinking. And if you can probably dissociate from the idea of agreeing or disagreeing. And if you can probably, hopefully, translate to a notion of being curious about, oh, if I agreed with them, why did I agree with them? Have I really thought through before I agreed? Am I now inspired or encouraged to agree? And vice versa. If I really disagreed with something that was said, if you found something offensive, which we are expecting some of us to be offended. If you really were offended or you disagreed or you found something hypocritical in your worldview, and maybe we were, please use this as an opportunity, given that you've arrived till here. Use this as an opportunity not to make a judgment about us or about you, but to use it as a setting which allows you to reflect, think critically, ask your own set of questions, ask questions at least, arrive at your judgment. But the only thing I would urge you and request you to do is to say, okay, before I conclude, can I push myself to ask a few whys, right? That was one of the takeaways. Why do you disagree? What is your belief about this? How did that belief come into existence? Is that coming from your childhood, from your family, from your parents? Did it come from an Instagram reel? Or this amazing person you have followed on YouTube, which everything they say you agree with? Or was it a work of your own independent thinking and observation around you? Or was it a function of you rigorously challenging that and then finally arriving at it, compiling all these observations and influences and challenging those observations and influences also? So I want to kind of stress on this part, I think, because this opportunity doesn't arrive with this intensity and with this seriousness and sincerity, where someone insists, like the way I am insisting, to for a moment let go of the need to agree, disagree, to judge, and to use this as an opening for your own seeking, right? How could you use this certain bit of restlessness and turmoil, if we have stirred in you so far, and not just agreement? If you have only stirred agreement, let me tell you, you were not thinking. Right? You can't have agreements back to back to back. If you're thinking, you have to be a little bothered and asking questions and clarifications. Even though I agreed with Nakul, I think I did want to challenge him. I did want to, kind of poke and see if there are certain angles which you are missing out on, which I can question. But not because I wanted to play gotcha, but because I want to make sure that if we are talking, we know, we're covering the ground fully, right? And we don't accidentally end up being in the same trap as, kind of, especially it comes to you more often, that you offer clarity to people through this inquiry and through a certain set of practices. And I think I would want to put you through, and us as an interaction, through a greater bar of accepting what we say, accepting what we believe in, right? So I think I've tried to do that today. And finally, I think the takeaway, if this got you thinking, the seeking, please feel free to drop in certain comments and questions which you think make sense or do not make sense. And if you're finding a little bit of struggle in doing this critical questioning, curious questioning, the whys that we spoke about, feel free to drop that, and maybe we can interact in the comments to simulate very personal ones, maybe in DMs. I think this is something I'm fully committed to, And I would love to make that happen. And this has got nothing to do with our channel of talking about AI and tech and startups and business and all the cool sci-fi shiz that we usually enjoy. So with that, and I want to conclude the last most important, the call to actions which were there for me. I am going to definitely try doing that. I don't do that often enough. I know these, like when he was mentioning that these are some certain things, and I was able to recollect that there have been moments where I was still and I could notice my urges, right? So that was one of the first things that we like, can you stay still? Can you set alarms at random times in the day which remind you, hey, statue, just be still, find a comfortable spot, don't move. Just don't move. And you will notice your mind running around. You will notice your body wanting to, kind of, for example, I moved my leg a few times. I was a bit more conscious during the entire conversation for obvious reasons. And I could notice that once in a while I would raise my leg. I think this is a moment we can all create in our lives without extra time, without much effort. And that is, honestly, I was seeking a hack, right? So I like this hack. The other one was to ask a lot of questions. And those questions are meant to give you a glimpse into your own inner beliefs and who you are beyond your mind.
Yeah.
But to initiate those questions, I asked him specifically, what is there a particular question I can ask every time if I don't know where to start? And I got a great answer for that. Just ask why. You got angry? Why did you get angry? Because you didn't find what you're looking for. You didn't find your chocolate ice cream. But why did not finding chocolate ice cream make me angry, right? So you kind of go on this path. So this questioning why and making it about yourself, not making it about the other, so that you eventually, the goal, remember, never forget the goal. The goal is to know the self, not the self, but the true self, right? Because the self is actually a psychological idea, construct. So you want to know what's behind all of this. And these questions take you towards that. This observation takes you towards that. So that was the second one. Ask a lot of whys and direct them towards yourself. And the third one was
falling in love with wonder and questions than with beliefs, answers, and notions.
Yes, I think if we can all inculcate that with these practices, I think we cannot help but become, or start progressing in our journey of the pursuit of reality, the pursuit of truth.
Yeah, and you have to break your patterns. You have to identify them. You have to realize that they are patterns, not the truth of who you are, not what life is. Just a pattern. Pattern of belief, notion, action, reaction, but not life in itself.
No, wonderful. Thank you so much. I think with this, I would like to conclude our conversation. And if there is, one last prompt I would want to give you is, if you would want to leave the viewer with a question that they can take away from here, get them restless, get them, a bit, get them into seeking mode. What would you ask them to ask themselves if you were to, give one question? What would that be?
Well, then that would be a series of 3 lines. I have a lot of such answers to this kind of a question, but what immediately comes to me is a series of 3 lines, 3 statements, and they are: I have nothing, I know nothing, and I am no one. So if you want to believe, try believing these 3 lines and see what comes as a resistance, because they are fundamentally true. You have nothing. Whatever you earned, you're going to leave. I know nothing, because whatever you know is borrowed and will die out, because when you die, when your brain gets burned, or when you have dementia, Alzheimer's, something. And I am no one. That's also true. Everything you think you are, most of it was given to you by your parents and your relatives and your family and school and surrounding. So if you can really carry this thought and repeat this with conviction, knowing logically at least it makes sense, and see what comes up, and then question why. is this coming up? Why I can't believe this? Why I can't accept this fact? And if you can accept it, then notice what happens within. Something will vanish. For sure. A lot will.
Wow. No, I think this is great. Thank you so much. And the last thing before we say goodbye is I would urge you to not, stop this video and watch a happy Instagram reel. Take a little bit of pause, give it a reflection. Use some 5 minutes for this. I think this could be a remarkable opportunity for you to find a deeper truth and meaning in life. And I am personally very excited to put some of these into action. And I'll be happy to share how that goes for me. I think I'll make a follow-up at a more personal level on this. And especially on the specific activities that you said, because it is, however much meditation I've done, Vipassana I've done, just 1 hour sitting at one place is just usually beyond my comfort a little too much. I have done that several times where I'm not afraid of it, but life catches up and we all get busy. This I like specifically because it doesn't require me to give an excuse around this. It doesn't require me to be afraid of the size and commitment of it. It's not too hard in the first place, but it's still like the fact that it's easy, doable, doesn't take extra time and gives me still a very significant spiritual leverage. I think that was very exciting for me personally. So with that, thank you so much, Nakul. I really appreciate this conversation. This is the second time that we are doing an episode, and this is the only exception that is made on my channel because I just can't help but be extremely, this is a very personal thing, and if it's not AI, then it has to be this. I can't imagine a third thing that I would probably put out here. So thank you again. You've taken out the time. You're in my city right now. You're sitting in our studio and you are sleep deprived, and all of that is not easy. So